Good morning. Welcome to this service of Unity of Boerne. We are here in the house that love built. We are ready to receive the very best that God has to offer. And we offer ourselves in love and understanding of one another. We'd love to have you in person if you're able. We'd love for you to be with us. This is an experience when you come into these doors. We look forward to seeing you when you're able. But for now, we'll be talking about the gift of change very soon. And one of the things that I would like to make you aware of is the fact that this ministry exists because of your free will tithes and donations and offerings. And we, like any other church, have financial needs. And I invite you to press the PayPal button at the bottom of your page and give the best gift you're able. If you would prefer to send the tithe to our church, it is Unity of Boerne, P.O. Box 1973, Boerne, Texas 78006. That's Unity of Boerne, P.O. Box 1973, Boerne, Texas 78006. Look forward to seeing you. I'm glad you're with us this morning, and come join the family.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I am your worship assistant by default today. It says my name is Jennifer. Anyway, I'm glad to have you here. We got 10 people here today. We're going to start with singing our joy song, 190, Wonderful Words of Life. Oh, and Thom is our musician today. We're happy that he stepped in to do this for us.
Sing them over again to me, wonderful words of life. Let me more of their beauty see, wonderful words of life. Words of life and beauty, teach me faith and beauty. Wonderful words, wonderful words, wonderful words of life. Beautiful words, wonderful words, wonderful words of life. Words of promise for all mankind, wonderful words of life. Bringing comfort and peace of mind, wonderful words of life. Promises to cheer me, words I treasure dearly. Beautiful words, wonderful words, wonderful words of life. Beautiful words, wonderful words, wonderful words of life. Words of wisdom enrich my soul, wonderful words of life. Ever strengthen and make me whole, wonderful words of life. Gems of wisdom thrilling, fruits for truth fulfilling. Beautiful words, wonderful words, wonderful words of life. Beautiful words, wonderful words, wonderful words of life.
Thank you. You can please be seated. And I would ask if there's anybody here for the first time. Brent, that's the air conditioning. The heat is on and it's up here.
Oh, it's on?
And if we can turn the heat off.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I turned it off.
You turned it off? Okay. Like I said, we have Thom stepping in for our music today, and we don't have anyone here for the first time. Inside your bulletin, there's a prayer request form. And if you have any prayer requests, and you can always fill those out when you first come and put them in the prayer box. You can put them in the prayer box as it comes down the aisle for the blessing, or you can put it in after church, and our own prayer circle prays for those for a week, and they are also forwarded to Unity Village, where they are prayed, Silent Unity, where they're prayed for a month, and we all know there is great power in group prayer. And they don't have to be for you, they can be for people in your life or anything that you think of that could benefit from prayer. So for announcements, remember that on your bulletins, we use the covers over and over. You're welcome to take the insert out, but if you will leave the cover, that's appreciated. They are recycled. We do still have our Sunday morning book discussion. We only have 3 of us in there today, but it's from 9:30 to 10:30, and we're on, I think that's the final part of the book, and it's about really practicing mindfulness and what happens in your brain when you do. So it really has been a good book, and anybody's welcome to come at any time. We do a little reading and a lot of talking. Beginning next Sunday, they're going to resume with the potluck lunches. So please bring something that you can share with the group. I am sorry, I'm going to have to miss that, but I've got classes, and there are a lot of ongoing Zoom activities on Sundays at 7 p.m. There's the book study on What the Mystics Know. There are 3 Course in Miracles groups. One is Monday night at 7 and Tuesday afternoon at 2. Those are led by Bob Patterson. And the other one, which I'm hearing wonderful things about, is Wednesday at 8 o'clock with our own Reverend Jay. And then we also have the Pathlighters at 8 p.m. on Thursdays. And the login information is in your order of service under Unity Classes and Activities. And you can also go to our Facebook page, unityofboerne.org is our website as well. And this information's all over, so you can find it if you're interested in doing any of that. They have pretty good groups that attend, I believe. And now we're going to have the Daily Word by Chris Diaz.
As we quietly and gently prepare for the reading of the daily word, we remember that we are in spirit with millions of daily word readers and churches throughout the world. The Christ candle is lit as a reminder of the Spirit of God within all of us, which we call the Christ within. The word for today is prosperity. The affirmation is, prosperity fills my life. Current flowing through my home's wiring provides light, but first I must flip the switch to turn it on. Divine substance, the building block of creation, is the source from which my prosperity grows, but first I must claim it in consciousness to live a prosperous life. The divine idea of prosperity is unlimited, more than sufficient to meet every need. I know true prosperity when I live from this truth. Giving freely and generously keeps prosperity at the forefront of my consciousness. I know the more I give, the more of myself I place into circulation, the more I will experience. As I give of myself, I increase the flow of prosperity in my life and in the world. From the scriptures, Mark 4:24, and he said to them, pay attention to what you hear. The measure you give will be the measure you get, and still more will be given to you. Again, the affirmation is, prosperity fills my life. My name is Chris. Thank you for worshiping here with us at Boerne.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And now Now, if you will stand for our congregational affirmation, no other way. We can say that together. Could we but see the pattern of our days, we should discern how devious were those days which we came to this present time, this place of life, and we should see the climb our soul has made up through the years. We should forget the hurts, the wanderings, the fears, the wastelands of our life, and know that we could come no other way or grow into our good without these steps our feet found hard to take, our faith found hard to meet. The road life winds on, and we like travelers go from turn to turn until we come to know the truth that life is endless and that we forever are inhabitants of all eternity. Please remain standing for our celebration song, I Live in the Kingdom of Light.
I live in the kingdom of light, kingdom of beauty and love, the kingdom of order, the kingdom of justice. I live in the kingdom of light. I live in the kingdom of light, kingdom of power and love, the kingdom of righteousness, the kingdom of rightness. I live in the kingdom of life. I live in the kingdom of God, the kingdom of righteousness and love, the kingdom of beauty, the kingdom of plenty. I live in the kingdom of God.
And now we can say the opening prayer together. Unity of Boerne is a vibrant, loving, spiritual community, providing a sacred space for personal growth. We honor and celebrate the Christ within all people. Thank you. Please be seated, and I will now turn it over to Reverend Jay for our service.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We are a praying group of people, and what's wonderful about us is that the love that we share together, we share for others who have requests, prayers, joys, celebrations, the whole gamut of human existence. And right now, I'd like for us to take the united middle force of our love and place it in these requests that are seen and written, as well as those that are unseen and unheard by so many around the world right now. Let us pray. Our infinite presence, we give thanks for the ability to come before you in prayer and thanksgiving, as well as sharing our concerns and those things that challenge us. The one thing we know is that you are with us no matter what, the friend that sticks closer than a brother. We uphold all these, seen and unseen, who have these requests, who have these challenges, and who have these joys. We know that we are one, and we know that the love that we are helps speed these requests along. They help answer the prayer. We are, in many ways, we know the answer because the truth of you stands with us. We are more powerful than we know. Give strength to those right now who need courage. Be with those right now who are hurting. We uphold this truth. We give thanks that your promises are eternally true. And so it is. Amen.
Amen.
Good morning.
Good
Good morning.
Well, I want to tell you that that I was kind of pleased about the title and topic of Jay's message today. Because I see all of us going through change, and we have been on a heavy-duty dose of that changing stuff for a good while now, and I'm looking for the change to go on to the next part of change, because I know that change is the only constant other than God, and I encourage myself more and more lately to be accepting and maybe even go beyond a sense of tolerance for this change that we're experiencing, but rather try to rest in my sense of allowing, which is outside this spectrum of tolerance. I think these days, if I am 80% tolerant, I'm still 20% intolerant. And so that when I get to do the change and accept myself and come into the change, I feel like I really have made the jump. And so I want to celebrate today, another celebration Sunday. For me, I'm celebrating change and how beautiful it is.
Let's go drifting through the trees. Let's go sailing on the sea. Let's go dancing on some old wood floors and leave our worries all behind us, like at a party so easily forgotten. Are the most important things, like the melody and the love light in your eyes, and the song that lasts forever, that keeps on getting better all the time. Cause change is beautiful, serendipitous. Every change that comes here just for us. Change is beautiful. We don't have a fight. We're somewhere above our clouds. The sun still shines bright. Don't get crazy or afraid. You might lose your chosen way and have nothing but have not planned. I know we'll never be without you at this party, so easily forgotten. Are the most important things is that you are loved, yes you. Gosh, you got your days and nights walking through this crazy, changing world with you. So easily forgotten, are the most important thing is that you are loved, yes you. And God wants to calm your days and nights walking through this changing world with you. That's right, child, 'cause change is beautiful, sharing is with us. Every
It's wonderful to be with you all as always. This morning, I'd like to talk to you about a subject that's fraught with some consternation. How many of you all like change, as a general rule?
Depends on what it is.
Depends on what it is. The change that we all go through living in this relative experience, sometimes we call it good, sometimes we say it's bad, sometimes we say it's in the middle, and we just try to adjust to it. But one thing's for sure is that we, in this experience, are going to encounter change, many changes, many things that we have come to love, that we enjoy, that we affirm, and then all of a sudden life interposes itself in a way that sometimes is a little bit agitating, all the way to feeling a sense of tragedy. New Thought has been accused of ignoring the experience of pain. And I want to say that that is exactly the opposite of what I found. What it says is that through these relative changes, if we can release our own ideas about how life is supposed to be, that we can go with the flow, the Tao. I'm sure many of you know about the Tao Te Ching and Lao Tse, the book, of changes. The Buddha said that life is impermanence. And in New Thought, we say pretty much we understand that that is true, but at the same time, we know that our steps are ordered for our highest good, even though we can't see it. And we know that in the relative because when we're going through something to get something that we want to have, we see that there are many things that we wish were different as we go to it, but we keep course adjusting to get to the goal. If any of us said at the very middle of the process, do you like it? We'd say, no, I'm having to adjust, or I'm having to affirm, or I'm having to do my truth work or whatever to get what I want. And one of the things that I found in my life when I went through these types of changes is to order my prayers in a certain way, which is this or something better for my highest good and the highest good of all concerned. I call that the divine insurance policy. In other words, it allows for you to affirm this, and it makes room for divine spirit to give you more than you thought you were capable of receiving, or to give you something even better than what you had thought. Today, I'd like to talk to you about getting to the better, getting through the going through stage. If we all understand that life is impermanent, and we know that, and we understand that what we affirm we make firm, we make true for ourselves, then it is incumbent on each one of us to make sure that our beliefs that we hold, the ideas about life, are as open and as healthy as they can be. You may have many things come against you in your life that seem to block your flow of good. But the truth of being and the truth of centuries of spirituality of all kinds affirms the fact that eventually we'll get where we're going. Eventually we'll be healed. It's said, for instance, in people who experience illness, that they are healed either here or in the next experience. It's all a matter of your perspective and stepping back and taking a look at the bigger picture. Sometimes I've wanted things so desperately to be a certain way and found out that if had they been that way, I would have been miserable. I thank God for God's guiding hand throughout my own limited mortal understanding. I'm going to quote something today that is not really from Unity, but it is really a part of us. Back in 1916, Adam Dickey, who was a Christian Science practitioner, wrote something called God's Law of Perfect Adjustment. It's pretty long, but every word was solid gold, and every word could have resonated with the Fillmores, Emma Curtis Hopkins. All these folks were saying many of the same things. And what's God's law of adjustment? It is this: when we're open, when we allow our limited human understanding to be put to the side, we receive fresh inspiration and new ideas to live our lives in a new and exciting way. It doesn't seem that way all the time because change is painful sometimes. We all know what birth means. We all have seen, I'm sure, the little flower that pokes out of the concrete. I'm sure that that flower is wondering how it's going to do it, but it does it. It does it because it persists. And then there is the law of persistence, not to be confused with the law of resistance. We don't resist, but we persist. We persist in understanding and applying the truth that we know to the situation that's in front of us. The reason I call change a gift is because if you see something that remains the same all the time, there's no growth. And sometimes there's really a backward motion. Growth is always upwards, even though it doesn't seem like it. What am I saying to you this morning? That the very things that you'd like to see leave your life right now are there for your soul's highest good. In fact, some folks believe that prior to being on this planet, we choose certain situations, certain people who will come into our lives to teach us things, and we will teach them. Of course, the miracle says it this way: we are all students and teachers of one another. The things that we can't see always are the things that we need to affirm are being done in divine order. It's going to come because this is the place we are right now. We're living in a relative world. But I'd like you to think of this in another way. Since we're all one, and since there is really no separation in spirit, all of us, in one point or another, are making an upward trek to a greater good. We just don't see it all the time. But what we do in Unity and New Thought is we affirm. We're the cockeyed optimists. We accentuate the positive. We, as Johnny Mercer said, we eliminate the negative as much as possible. We know that according to the scripture, that we come out the winners eventually. It's just that there are many steps to get there. And you know that you can affirm your way through the most difficult and upsetting times that you might be called on to face. And in fact, those that do that and can do that have got a great secret of life. They know that while they wouldn't particularly have chosen this if it had come, if they had had the opportunity before it come, they also know how to make the best of a situation that may seem less than perfect. How many of you all have gone through a change that you didn't particularly want and look back and say, that was one of the greatest things that ever happened to me? I've quoted a story from a lady that I think a lot of, who said that dating a drug addict was one of the most wonderful things for her own spiritual growth, even though it was hell at the time. Not because she enjoyed being with a drug addict, but because of what she learned about herself in the process. And you see, That's what I'm talking about. Life is an inside job. The people around us are mirrors, and they're there to teach us certain things that we need to know. Instead of condemning them and pointing a finger at them and telling them it shouldn't be this way, we can learn from that. We can learn that those folks may be fearful, expressing negatively, expressing less than their true potential. But we can take that information and say, this is something that I don't want to do, and I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to grow from this. What a wonderful way to be. What a wonderful way of life is to look at the things that come into your life are there for your growth. Now, I could get into the idea of soul choice before we're born, and karma, reincarnation, resurrection. Those words are charged because a lot of people use them, and it's sometimes used to connote blame. In other words, I've heard it said, if somebody's going through something difficult, somebody else that may be well-meaning comes in and says, well, you know, this is your karma. Well, it may be, but we don't know that. What we do know is that we can be loving and caring while somebody goes through something, knowing and affirming that their highest good is going to come from this. That's what Jesus Christ did when he saw people that were suffering. He saw the incipient, he saw the inherent. And when seeing that, the folks around him saw that, and they lived up to the idea that Jesus had about them. He said, you are the salt of the earth, you're the light of the world. Think about that. Each one of us, no matter where we are in our lives, no matter what we're going through, we're the salt of the earth and the light of the world. And if that's the case, all we need to do is act like it. And it's the acting like it in the midst of change that can be so difficult. I am very aware that people who are watching right now, and some of you that are in front of me, have gone through things that have threatened to break your heart, and maybe have broken your heart, and maybe have made you question your faith down to your toes. You can't get this many people together online here or any venue and not have a wide spectrum of the human experience represented. Some people struggle with addiction. Some people struggle with relationships. Some people struggle with financial difficulties. Some with health challenges. It's all part of this human experience. And the reason that I mention karma, reincarnation, and resurrection, that just happens to be one theory, one idea. But no matter what we think of those concepts, the fact remains that we're here, we have to face certain things, and are we going to get bitter or better? Are we going to believe our affirmations? Are we going to take a chance on faith and say, my way may not be the right way, and I'm willing to leave it up to Spirit to make sense of the situation? I'm being called to do that right now. And it seems to me that about every 15 years, I have one of these things happen. And every time that I think I have it down pat, God says, wait a minute, here comes something new for you to learn. And that's okay, because I'm his loving student, because he's my loving Father. And I know that my steps, as it says in Scripture, my steps are ordered, and that I'm understood and I'm loved no matter what. The challenge for me is to live that out during a difficult time. And this morning, I'd like to talk to you about your changes, not necessarily knowing what they may be or what you've gone through, but talking about your changes and how you respond to them in your life and how they can be made better for you. Openness and trust is part of our faith. It says, without faith it is impossible to please God, not because God is angry at us because we don't have the right kind of faith. It just means that without faith, we're not going to set the wheels in motion for our good. Sometimes we go through things and we think, oh, I'll have to just bear this because somebody in New Thought or perhaps ourselves have said, well, you know, it's just my karma. Do you know that's fatalism? It's not that I have anything against the word. The word is really means balance and action. But I've heard that word used to beat people over the head with, and some folks will beat themselves over the head with it. Doesn't mean it's not true. It may mean that our understanding of this is limited. We need to walk by the faith, by the sight that we have. We can't jump from first grade mathematics to trigonometry. It's a journey. And in this journey, I hope that none of you get so impatient with yourselves that you block the good that could be yours in a particular situation, because there is good in almost every situation I've found, if we'll look for it. If we can put ourselves aside long enough and ask ourselves a question, what is the lesson here? Edgar Casey talked about life as a classroom. Many spiritual teachers talk about this. Yes, we want to have the life and have it more abundant. We're promised that. But we're also here to learn things about ourselves for our soul's evolution. And we take that with us, I believe, past this experience into the next wonderful experience the Spirit has planned for us. The words of Christ Jesus were not fatalistic. He talked about the life more abundant, the life that was to be, the new life that could be ours if we just reached out for it. If we were able to merely have faith and believe this is true. Belief in yourself is belief in the God that made you. It's not that there's a God out there and one over here. You and God are one. And you're here to experience certain things you need for your growth. And that connotes change. And that's, as I said sometime, I think it was last week, getting out of our comfort zones hurts. It's not always fun to do that. But that's where life is. If you remember Shirley MacLaine, whatever you think about her, she said in 1985, if you want to get to the fruit of the tree, you got to go out on a limb. And just make sure you're not sawing your limb behind you when you're out on it. Because what happens is you go out on the limb and you say, I'm in faith here, and then all of a sudden doubt creeps in, fear creeps in, and what are you doing but mentally sawing your limb, and you're going to fall. I'm talking about radical faith that bets everything, that the truth within you has got this, and it just needs your cooperation. We're on a journey, and that journey is full right now of impermanence. And impermanence has gotten a bad rap, because I don't think there's any one of you, including me, who would like to have one single thing happen every day forever. We love the idea of challenge, setting goals, growing, and accustoming ourselves to the things that are ours to do. You are bright lights of spirit right here. The world kind of conspires to put you in a mass group and say you're part of a large number, and et cetera, et cetera. You're an individuation of the divine. And as such, your words have power. And no matter what you're going through in the relative, you can, with proper understanding of yourself and what you're going through at the time, you can affirm your way out of it, or you can deny your way out of it. Denial's gotten a bad rap because we've heard addicts, when they talk about addicts, denial is not a river in Egypt. And we know about people who seem to just deny and bury their head in the sand. That's not the type of denial I'm talking about. I'm talking about, and H.M. Lee Cady talked about, and Ernest Holmes talked about, and Emmett Fox talked about, denial of any mood, thought, or conditioned to have ultimate power over me, ultimate power over you. The golden key that Emmett Fox wrote said, whatever the difficulty you have and are going through right now, stop whatever it is and think about God, your highest conception of God. And what have you done? You've taken your mind off the relative, you've taken your mind off the negative, and you are looking at and affirming the God of being. And when you do that, when you, as they call it, golden key it, it's sort of a reset. You get a different perspective. You get to step back and say, I may have been looking at this wrong. I need my windshield cleaned. I need to look at things a different way. That's what a life well lived is. Rigidity is what can break us. We're rigid in our attitudes. You'll notice that can snap. But when we have this fluid, flexible attitude toward life, we're going to get through things that we thought would break our hearts and may have already broken our hearts. We're going to heal that much quicker because we're allowing for the Spirit to move through us. It's been said that Spirit's ways are inscrutable. And I think that it is most necessary to align ourselves with the highest ideals we have about God. What do you believe about God today? I know that everybody in here is loving. Lord knows I felt that, and people who've walked through the door see that. But what is it that you believe about yourself and about God when you get down to it, when you're not in a group of friends, and we're not talking spirituality, but you're home alone and you're thinking, what do you really believe about yourself and about this higher power? Because that will be what's imprinted on the screen of your life. This is how we create our reality. Not that somebody decides that says, well, I'm going to go out and create this awful thing that happens, or create this good thing. Yes, we affirm that, and we believe that good will come from our affirmations. But what I'm talking about is the idea that you're open from the inside to the divine inspirations that will come to you even in the midst of those dark nights of the soul. I think the dark night of the soul is underrated. I think that they can be some of the greatest tools for learning. Those nights, those times, when it's you and you're up against it and you've got to figure out what you're going to do about it. You can either stand still, some people can get better, or you can deny your way out of it. And I'd like to talk to you about that for a moment. It's not denying the situation that you're going through. It's not saying reality isn't real. It's not gaslighting yourself. It's saying that this situation does not have the ultimate power to change my course that I have set for my good. So it recognizes the reality of the relative, but it also knows, and deep inside, it knows that there is something better for you. And that's what faith is about. And that's what the spiritual life is about. We affirm, we have vision boards, we set goals, we do all these things within the boundaries of our own understanding. I'm asking you today to deny those things that would get in the way of what you understand as your good, and allow the gift of change to come from Spirit, who wants the very same things that you want. It's been said, what you want wants you. You wouldn't have the desire in your heart to have something if it wasn't in some way available to you. That doesn't mean that we can do everything and leap tall buildings in a single bound, but by and large, we get what we believe. And in change, in the change that we go through in this life, we forget that because we feel powerless and helpless. One of the greatest steps of Alcoholics Anonymous says, that we were powerless and came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And what is sanity? Being in our right minds. And what is being in our right minds? It's being one with the Spirit, the truth that lives inside each one of us. I think all of us get used to saying, the kind of person I am. I'd love for you to change that, and for me to change that, and say the kind of person I could be. Part of the problem in life is many people turn that around and say, the kind of person I would have been, the kind of things I wish I'd done. And they're lost in a sea of negativity about their past, and they think that past is them. And it's not. You're new every moment. You're recreated every moment. You are here to experience the abundant life, even if it doesn't always look like it's perfect, because change and growth are messy. Many times the creative process is really very messy. I know, I tried a watercolor, and I see that it can be very unforgiving, and I have to tear it up and start over again, and tear that up, start over again, because it's not what I want. But if I keep at it, I might learn a little something. Same with life. Keep at it. Keep at it today. Keep at it tomorrow. You'll learn something that you need to know, because I've got news for you. This whole thing is hardwired for your winning, for my winning, and for everybody that's ever walked this planet. God will not lose his own, not one single soul will be lost. They may feel that right now. They may feel lost, forsaken, downtrodden, and what they do about that is simply change their mind. Did I say simply? Yeah, that's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to do because we're invested in our opinions. Have you noticed your opinions are some of the hardest things to release? But you have to let the new in. You're not going to get the fruit of the tree without walking out on that limb in an act of faith. And the gift of change that I'm really talking about this morning is not the things that we do out here, not the things that change relatively out here, the things that change in here, right here. Your attitude, your very way of being, that can be remade in an instant, or it can take a lifetime. But this morning, as you entertain ideas about what life has been for you, what it is right now, and what it could be, know this: there is a certain wisdom at the beginning and a little insecurity. Because it says, I know I'm in a relative world, and I'm going to allow for that. I'm going to kind of landscape that in. But no matter what happens, nothing is going to take me off the course that I'm setting to be loving, to be positive, to eliminate the negative, and to welcome change and say, I may not know why this is happening, but I know in some way it's for my ultimate good. It said in Scripture, it came to pass, not to stay. Don't hold on to the things that hurt. Be sure that you realize that it came to pass, not to stay. And that God himself says, behold, I do a new thing. Do you not perceive it? You see, we have to perceive it. We have to be open channels. We have to be conduits of the divine. And that wraps us right back to where I began. This power that flows through you and me, the one that we use in a million ways every day without thinking, is the one that upholds us and guides us through these changes. All we have to do is say, I want to learn more. When you don't understand something, one of the greatest prayers is, show me more. Help me understand more. supplicative prayers that say, God, I need you to do this right now. That's one thing. But if we take a step back and take a deep breath and say, help me understand more about what's in front of me, and help me understand more about the reasons and the ways that I'm responding as I am. That's spiritual growth. That's real. That's just not sliding through the top, skimming through the top of our teachings and saying, well, if I affirm enough, it'll all be good. Sometimes that can happen, but more times than not, we've got some work to do. We've got inner work to do. In fact, the work we do inside is going to be far more than what we do on the outside. The inner work that we have to do on ourselves with the help of Spirit is a lifetime proposition. But the good news is that Spirit is with you as you use this power. And as the changes come to you, whether you believe it's something in a past life, or whether you believe it's for your soul's evolution or whatever, you're still here and you're still watching because part of you believes that it can be better. You may not know how right now. That's up to you to find out in prayer and meditation. I offer you this. It can be. It has been for me. It has been for many of you. You've done it before. Don't get so weary of well-doing that you stop. You want to be alive all the way up to the end. I want to be like my mentor, Jack Bowen, dying in a hospital room, and said, my best is yet to be. Close his eyes while all the people around the bed, they think he's gone. And he opened his eyes, winks, and said, fool you, didn't I? That's grit. That's faith. That gets to me. That man, as you know, meant a lot to me. And he's been gone for a number of years, 29 years now. But he said, whatever comes my way, whatever changes come my way, I'm going to enjoy them. I'm going to enjoy my way through them. And then he said, you know what, Jay? I flat did. Everything that he talked about, he would say this, that came to him. He said, I flat did. I enjoyed it. Including being under a bridge, drinking Sterno as a homeless guy that later became the president of the Association of Unity Churches. Talk about change. Talk about what can be. Talk about a decision. That change, the thing that he was going through that looked so bad became his greatest gift of his life. And the thing that you're going through today that you think is here to break you is really here to make you. It's up to you. I believe that God will meet you the more that you release your limited human concepts and allow for that Spirit to come in and remake and recreate you. So change gets a bad name. Today we could maybe think of change as the law of the universe. Eventually everything in this plane passes away. Eventually we're asked to give up things that we love and we cherish. It's part of life. But it's how we respond to that. We don't want to be bitter. Nobody really does, because that's not happiness. They just don't know how to access the happiness. This morning, I want to help you as I help me access that happiness. And the way to do that is to go inside to your inner teacher, to the Spirit that you're acquainted with, the one that you know, the one that says, beneath the din of noise, I sound like this. Some people call it the master teacher. Listen, the messages are there. They're always wonderful. They're always uplifting, and they're always positive. That's the God voice. The negative, the relative upsets are the voice of the ego. And to differentiate between the two can be the work of a lifetime. But it's worth it. I wish each and every one of you a wonderful week, embracing the changes that are out there, and knowing that if we didn't have them, life would be a pretty boring proposition. Go out and be excited about what is yours to do, and let go of those mistaken certainties of yourself, about yourself, and embrace the change that comes with living in this world. And do it with an attitude, believe it or not, of gratitude. Because when you do that, when you're grateful for what happens, you're paving the way for good that you may not see yet. God bless each and every one of you. I'm so glad to be with you today. Go out and have a wonderful week.
In the midst of his children, the Lord said he would be. It doesn't take very many, it can be just 2 or 3, and I feel that same sweet spirit that I felt of times before. Surely I can say I've been with the Lord. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel His mighty power and His grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel His mighty power and His grace. I can hear the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
Together, I'd like for us to close our eyes and enter a place that we know well. It is inner space. You hear so much talk about outer space, but in inner space, there's so much we can do. We can travel from this city to another city, and it's simply in our minds. We have the faculty of imagination, which is one of the 12 powers of Unity's Charles Fillmore. And this morning, I'd like for you to imagine in a meditative state, whatever feels comfortable to you, being aware of where you are. Imagine yourself loved by the Spirit, by the warmth of Spirit that says to you, what will you have? And do you trust me to make this happen for you, maybe in ways that you don't understand? We're open. We're receptive right now. We take deep breaths and feel the calm serenity of the Spirit. We know that change is a part of life, and it can sometimes move us, sometimes shake us. But there is one in us that goes ahead of us and beside us, that knows And right now we make contact with that presence. We commune with that presence. Any sense of fear or foreboding that we have about the future is replaced by the sure and certain knowledge of who walks with us. Knowing that also as we heal ourselves, we facilitate the healing of others. We are kind to ourselves in this moment right now. We have heard to be kind to others, for they're fighting a battle that you know not of. Be kind to yourself for the battle that you may be fighting inside, for the thing that you would like to overcome, for the changes that you would like to see in your life. We affirm loving patience right now. We affirm that God presence gives us the ideas to handle change. Gives us the security inside that we may not feel on the outside. But wherever we go, there we are. And wherever we go, their presence is, their spirit is. And in this sacred time, we allow ourselves healing of the places that may have hurt for years or days or hours, knowing there's no time in spirit. It's all now. And we take abundantly of what we need wherever the healing is needed. We allow that. Physically, emotionally, mentally. We know it is done to us as we believe. We believe the very best about ourselves right now, not lost in the idea of the relative human experience, but sure and certain in our faith and the ground of our being. Knowing then when that happens, that our relative experience lines up with that is for our best. We resist nothing in this moment. We allow the healing to come forth and break through resistance and break through the encrusted attitudes that we may have had, we may have. Behold, I do a new thing. Do you not perceive it? Words from thousands of years ago that are true right now. And you allow a new thing to be done to you. Denying any force that would come against your resolution and affirming the God force within you to make your path clear, to make your way straight, to heal you in every way you need it. We stand at the fount of our being and we drink lavishly the water of life. We affirm that although we may go through changes, the changeless one is with us. And our steps are authored by the one who knows what is for our highest good. So we align with that. And in this moment, affirming what we want, we do say this or something better for the highest good of all concerned. we love ourselves through this process. We give ourselves patience, kindness, and stand in the ground of our being. Right now we're refreshed, we're renewed. We've made some new decisions. We've released some things, and it feels good. You are the light of the world. You are the salt of the earth. We give thanks in this moment for recreation and for the changes that have come to enlarge us and make us more of what we truly are. We declare this is so. Amen.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Now we come to that part of our service where it's our privilege to give as we have received the blessed law of life. And as you give, you receive. As you sow, so shall you reap. We know that during this time especially, we've had financial challenges. We've had bills that we have to pay, but we're also doing ministry at an unprecedented level here at Unity of Boerne, online and in person. I invite you to be part of that, and giving your tithes and gifts actually makes you a tangible part of that. And that feels wonderful, at least it does for me. So I invite you this morning to give the best gift which you're able. Thank you.
Freely, freely I have received. Freely, freely I give. Divine love through me blesses all that I am. All that I give and receive. All that I give and receive.
And of course, Pathlighters and those of you who are tuning in, some of you from Australia, some of you from Kansas, I'm just amazed at the reach we're having here. I invite you to give your best gift via PayPal, right here, the button at the bottom of the page, or send your gift to Unity of Boerne, P.O. Box 1973, Boerne, Texas 78006. You'll be blessed for it, and we appreciate it so much. Together we say, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I send it forth with my blessings and my love. So it is.
Love can build a bridge between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time?
Together we sing.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joy and sound. Take each moment and live each moment, peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Together we say the light of
God
God
surrounds us, the love of God holds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
I know where that is. One of the few places.
Hey, Bob, or
Hold on a second.
a box, the prayer box,
Bring it to you?
huh?
Do we bring it to you?
Please.
Yeah.
It was so weird.
Really?
Maria wanted me to get it.
Man, I'll take it. Yeah, I mean, you've been doing it for a while.
Brent usually does that, I appreciate that.
How did you? No, he said, I said I volunteered.
Oh, good. Okay.
It's like old times.
Fantastic.
Go out on my back porch that day, and I remember.
Just we want everybody running the door. Distracted.
I
still have the sign?
Yes.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if it's unlocked or not.
I'm gonna call Maria. We have made a reservation. Let's see if we can
Did
get around.
you get Jay too? Did you? Thank you. Yeah, I'll come right over. Let me check this
And I'll
out.
drop it off.
Thank you.
And my daughter, she was working in her office, which was my living area. She heard me. So she came out. She said, "Grandma, it was raining." Well, it wasn't. It was right in the corner. It was covered in sand. The only place that was safe. And it wasn't bad. But I said, "Okay, what are you doing?" She was like, "I'll read it." I said, "First of all, sit in this chair."
They have a reservation for us. Chris, they have a reservation for us. I asked them around table, they said they'd try their best, but there's 6 of us per meeting, and I put it under Unity. They got it, which one, which is Why does it say P4?
I don't know, it's timer.
Here's one. Let's see if that works. No? There's a timer on and a timer off.
Yeah, I'm trying not to, I don't see him doing
Oh,
it.
well, I go to coffee.
I never realized that it's electronic.
Could you see?
Never realized it had the,
I use this that has the springs behind
Run
So,
timer. I don't want to run a
issues
timer.
and think which ones are real,
Very Chinese
what is that?
kind of piano. And then the
It was a
grand
learning
piano.
experience. You said you got a concussion of
We
your
don't
head
like the
too?
electric.
I did not